Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Small Business Talk podcast. My name is Edholm. I'm your host. And on this show, I talk to small-sized business owners, and we just talk about what it's like to be a business owner, challenges for those of you who are looking to start a business or grow your business. That's really what I'm talking to business owners about. Hopefully, what you hear today will help out, and I'm so excited to have Kendyl Groth on the show today. Welcome, Kendyl.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so full disclosure, Kendyl and I work together on a regular basis, but she has some really exciting things that she has to share. And also, Kendall's a Gen Zer, and so we're going to talk about what work looks like for the Gen Z generation. And I'm a Gen Xer, so we can talk about how the two of us work together and how we work through our challenges in our days together. And then Kendyl is also starting her own business, so we'll talk about that too. Kendyl.
Hello.
I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Let's start out with what a typical day looks like for you.
Yeah, so I am a full-time college student. That is my number one priority right now. This fall, I'm going into my fourth and final year at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I'm getting my degree in math with a minor in computer science, and I'm also part of the honors college at UNLV. So that takes up a lot of my time. And then, like you said, I am a subcontractor for Creco, so I work on that throughout the day when I'm not in class. And then I also own my business, so I'll be running social media or getting products out, talking with customers, all that. So, very busy day, and try to spend time with my family as much as I can, go out with friends on the weekends. Normal college things somewhere in there.
Normal college things.
Yep.
How did you decide to choose math, and math is your major and computer science is your minor?
Yeah. So I actually started as a computer science minor. I've always loved math. Like in high school, I took calculus my junior year, and I went to my guidance counselor in high school, and she was like, well, if you like math, but you don't want to be a teacher, because I was like, that was a big no for me. I don't have the patience to teach people a lot, especially when it comes to math, because it just makes sense for me. So she was like, if you don't want to be a teacher, you should think about computer science. And so I went through 2.5 years at UNLV as a computer science major, and I absolutely hated it. I ended up there'd be nights where I'd be up till 2 a.m. and all I wanted to do was throw my computer out of a window. And so I was talking to some friends, and they were like, this is not for you. So I went and talked to the advisor in the honors college, and he was like, yeah, this is not for you. You made the meeting. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people say, I really hate my major, I hate college, blah, blah, blah. But when they actually make the meeting to do a change, it means that they're serious about it. So I reevaluated what I loved, and I still was loving the math classes I was taking, because you still have to take a lot of math for computer science. Mm-hmm. And I switched over to math, and I'm very happy with it.
Very nice. Where do you see yourself taking that knowledge after school's done?
So I've thought about this a lot, because that was one of the things that I was worried about, is what am I going to do with this math degree? Because I was told math degree is a direct funnel to being a teacher. And it actually happened that my mom was connected to you, and she was like, Cree actually got a degree in math, and she's not a teacher. And so I went and I looked and really started enjoying what I was seeing about marketing. And so I'd love to get into marketing more and more. But the biggest thing that I've always wanted to do in my life is I've wanted to work for Disney. Mm-hmm. And that used to be, I wanted to be a princess. And that's not where we're at now. But so when I was making the decision to change my major, I went onto the Disney Careers website and I typed in math, and I found a bunch of different options for it. So there's marketing, sales planning, digital creation, all of that math can help with, because math is so broad. It's problem solving, and I think every career uses problem solving to some extent.
Yeah, problem solving in data, especially in marketing. I think that a lot of people just think of marketing as social media, but there's a lot of things that happen on the back end with numbers and data and reporting that help with business decisions. And so I agree 100%. You divulged that I studied math also, and I think things worked out pretty well. Yeah, I'm very happy. Yes. So life as a normal college student, I would say, just working through the challenges, and I like how that point in time when you didn't like something, you just turned to your friends and looked to them for support to help you along the way to make your next decision. So I think that's always good. Yeah. So work. So you're working while you go through school. Tell me about your work schedule and how you fit that in with everything going on with school and your social life.
Yeah. So for most of my college time, I've had like a quote unquote normal job where like you go somewhere and you clock in and then you clock out. And like I enjoyed that when I had the time. Because I did start college in 2020 in the pandemic. So most of my classes for the first year and a half, 2 years were remote. And so I had a little bit more flexibility when it came to getting in the hours that I wanted to work. But now things have lifted a little bit and I'm able to go to class in person, which I think is better for me to learn math in person. Other things I can do fine on my own, but math I like to be actually sitting there. And so I found that I was kind of struggling to get the hours I needed at work and have the hours I needed to study when I was working a normal job. And so I am lucky that I'm able to have a flexible work schedule and I'm able to, I can wake up at 7 instead of 8 and do an hour of work before I have to get ready for school. Or like my last semester, I had a 5-hour gap in between 2 of my classes. And so I would find a table, I'd put my headphones in and I'd get some work done before my class if I didn't have any homework. Right. And so just having that flexibility has been really nice for me to do it whenever I want. And I can actually have the time for it. And my grades liked that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I built out Creco was that, first of all, there's a point in time as a business owner when it makes sense to have full-time employees, right. People who are on your payroll, and you have all the costs associated with that. It certainly works. When I launched Creco, though, it's something that I did not want to have. And the reason why is because I also enjoy having a flexible work schedule. I don't want to have to be in the office from 8 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday, or whatever that looks like. And so, before working at Creco, I actually worked in the tech industry, and I've been working remotely for, I would say, 10 years now. Wow. And this means working with large size corporations like 7-Eleven and Starbucks and building custom software applications for these corporate businesses. And we had teams that were all over the world. And so what I learned was to work as a team in a remote environment. And I've kind of brought that to Creco. In next month's episode, I am going to go into more detail about that. But with that said, Kendyl, describe from your perspective what our working arrangement is and kind of what we do to what I do to send your work your way and how you find time in your schedule to finish it.
Yeah, I really like how we work. I think we have a really good workflow going. All of our communication is digital. We go back and forth, we have our little to-do lists and we share responsibility for a lot of projects. We have a weekly meeting that I think really is beneficial for us to because you can text a lot or chat a lot, email a lot, but there's some things that you just need to have an actual discussion for, especially if it's getting ideas for different projects. I think that, those meetings that we just kind of build around when I'm in class, when you're not in meetings or other appointments. I think like having that hour a week that we are able to dissect these like little things work really well for us. And then, everything else is very much like, I find that we're online at the same time more frequently right now, because I am on summer break. And so our chats are a little bit more instantaneous. But even if you send me something at 8 a.m. when I'm doing something and I'm not going to see it till 2, nothing we're doing is super urgent that it kind of needs an urgent response. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. And I would invite anybody listening today to really evaluate how you're taking on your workload and or assigning tasks. Nothing, for the most part, nothing is an emergency. It does not have to be done right away. And that's really the idea behind our workflow is it doesn't mean that, things don't happen in a timely manner or when they should be completed by, but we have a workflow in-house. Basically we just use a task assignment tool. We meet every week to cover any questions or just keep each other updated with what's going on. I give Kendyl access to my calendar and vice versa. So we just kind of see what's going on in each other's day. And these are all ways to communicate. I think there are a lot of people out there, especially creative people. I find a lot who, having a task list is just like, oh, it's daunting. But my approach is to use it more like a communication tool. It's like, hey, I need you to do this. I need it done by a certain time. If you have any questions, put it in that task. And then we just go back and forth and address any questions. And it works out great.
Yep. All the communication.
Yes, all the communication. And again, I will go into more detail about how I run Creco Productions in next month's episode. So that will be exciting. Now, what I would like to do now, Kendyl, is take this conversation kind of in a different direction. Okay. And we're going to talk about generations.
Cool.
And I did hint to this at the beginning. And I think that Gen Zs, and I'll tell you what, when I was your age, which was now a long time ago, there were stereotypes applied to me as a person and my friends and all the people around me. And, that's happening with your generation. I think that's normal. But I do think there is a difference in Gen Z in the way that your generation is looking at and viewing what work should look like.
Yes.
Yes. And I would just like to get your take on what that's like. In a year from now, you're looking to apply to maybe work at Disney or whatever else you feel like doing and want to do. But like, how do you and your friends or people in your age group really think about and what is that ideal working environment look like for you?
I think the stereotype around Gen Z that I've kind of seen is that we don't work hard. That's kind of what I've seen. And I honestly think that there is a divide in Gen Z itself because when my friends and I, we were all like early Gen Z, and I've had a conversation with a lot of them, and it's kind of like we work so hard. I have found that I work to be 2 or 3 employees worth of people. Like I work to be irreplaceable. And I find that a lot of my friends also feel very similarly. I've then found when I was working in a manager position that when we were hiring 16-year-olds who, they were born, in like the mid to, or like, 2004, 2005 area, they were getting their first jobs in the pandemic, right as we were coming out of the pandemic. And every single place was hiring. You would go to every restaurant, clothing store, and they all had the join our team signs in the window and everything. And I think that gave that round of Gen Z kind of a little bit more freedom in their working situation. If like when I was looking for a job, I had a hard time getting a job when I first turned 16. But you could go down the row and get any job you wanted and, post-pandemic. Even I think, honestly, now a lot of places are still hiring. Yeah. You don't like your boss? you don't like the hours, you don't like the coworkers, you can go find something else. And so I think that gives Gen Z a little bit of a bad rep for like leaving jobs too soon. But I think we're looking for good working conditions. We want to be appreciated for the work that we do. And, and the way I want to say we're learning to work our worth.
Yeah.
Or work for our worth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the word irreplaceable. You wanted to be irreplaceable. And so that gives you motivation to work harder.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit more about where that feeling comes from.
I think that part is a little bit more internal for me. I grew up with a single mom, and she was always working so hard. And I think so that drive kind of rubbed off on me. And then, when I was in high school, I was working. I worked, I was in school, and I was a competitive dancer, so I never stopped moving. And so then I think when my life kind of chilled out a little bit and I started working more, I wanted to keep working more. And so it was just kind of like this snowball effect where I just kept working and kept working.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned something about appreciation, that your generation wants to be appreciated.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Speaking from like my experience of like my positions that I've held and watching other people, seeing somebody who doesn't work as hard as you getting a promotion or a raise, or, not getting enough hours because of whatever reason. And I mean, if you don't have the availability, you're not going to get the hours. But like if you have an open schedule and you're just not getting the hours that you want, or, your boss is condescending or, just flat out rude to you. Those are things that you shouldn't have to put up with to keep a job. And I think older generations, they'd be like, well, it's a good opportunity. I'm going to tough it out, or, you always have to deal with difficult people, which is true, but it doesn't mean your life has to suck every day when you go to work. You should enjoy going to work, at least a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that, when I was entering the workforce, there was a lot of the pressure was there to, stay at a job for a long period of time, no matter what. And in fact, I would say Gen Xers and especially millennials really changed that, in that I know from personally, I started doing that. Was if I wasn't getting promoted or getting raises, and what I mean by that was, doing the work, putting the work in, and being in the volatile tech industry that it has been for the past 20 years, there's lots of times where leaving and going to a different company to get more opportunity, and that meant more pay, made sense. And I think that starting with Gen Xers and millennials, we started to do that a little bit more. But I can remember a time when, I'd walk into an interview and they'd say, oh, wow, you've had, 3 jobs in 5 years. Tell me about that.
Why?
Why? Yeah. Why? And you'd have to explain it. So this has been going on for a while. And I agree. I do think that your generation does get a bad rap for that. But I would say it's been going on for a little while.
I was an assistant manager. My manager was looking through applicants. And she was like, this person has been at 6 jobs in 2 years. And then there's like a 3-month break here. Like, we're just going to pass on that because that shows they don't have dedication. I was like, there might be more to that story.
Yeah.
It might just be things didn't work out. Not that they don't work hard.
Right.
I mean, they might not work hard.
Of course, but it's worth a conversation, right? It's worth finding out, because I do know, and I think this is probably still common practice. I've been out of corporate for a while now, but what happened over time was large size corporations implemented basically computer programs that would take in resumes, and they're looking for specific things in that resume that is those are requirements that are defined by the organization. And if that computer program didn't see something in the resume, that person was already out.
Yeah.
They didn't even get a chance.
Which is so sad.
Right. And I think that's why I appreciate what I'm seeing in the Gen Z generation is because, we're on the tip of the iceberg as far as AI goes. And I think we're entering this territory where it's like, do personal conversations and considerations still matter? Or are we just going to put everything in the hands of some sort of an algorithm or a program to decide who we're going to work with every day?
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that?
I understand why we use the algorithms, but I think I've been in customer service for years. I think that there's a lot that can be had from a conversation with people. And I understand wanting an algorithm to weed out people because a lot of these big companies get thousands of applicants within a day of posting the job, and going through every single resume can definitely be a challenge. And then if you were to interview all of those people, that's going to take you way too long. You're going to need to hire 6 people by the time you can only hire 1 if you do that process every time. I think, though, that the algorithm should be shouldn't be kicking people out for things that they don't have. Because everyone can learn. Most people are capable of learning almost every skill if you give them the time and the resources and the ability to learn it. So it bothers me to know that people aren't getting chances because a robot, an algorithm decided that they couldn't.
Right. And I know people listening are going to say, well, there are other ways to get jobs like, networking or if you have connection. And of course there are. Yes. But we're talking about just submitting an application to a company and them using these types of platforms and programs to weed people out. This is the Small Business Talk podcast. So I would like to think that small businesses are doing things differently. And, it just makes me think that if you are somebody out there looking for a job, maybe your first job should be with a smaller size business, somebody who is going to actually look at your resume and maybe have a conversation with you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So stereotypes, are there any other stereotypes that you can think of that are applied to your generation?
So thinking on stereotypes, I really, until we started talking about me doing this and you were you're Gen Z, right? I really kind of disassociated myself from the generation because I think a lot of the stereotypes are very negative. And I think that even it got to me in the terms of well, I don't want to be, because we're the Tide Pod generation with all that, or
What's the Tide Pod? What does that mean real quick? Folks who don't know.
The thing, I think was it on TikTok? Maybe it was before TikTok, but Gen Z kids, probably just a handful of them were eating the Tide Pods, and which is a stupid decision. Don't eat Tide Pods. But they were going viral because it was a stupid decision. But I think stupid videos go viral on the internet long before Gen Z. Or, just America's Home Videos. That was a TV show. Possibly is. I don't know if it's still on. I don't watch it.
It was. Yeah. It might still be on. Yep.
They would just play YouTube videos of people doing stupid things. So, I think there's just going to be people doing things. And now with more social media and more people online, it's become oh, Gen Z is the one doing these because you're seeing it more. Doesn't mean it wasn't happening before.
Yeah, and that happened to our generation too. It's stereotypes are typically a small group of people who are speaking for a large group of people.
Yes.
And oftentimes it's not true.
Yeah.
And that's, your generation is no exception. So could you just kind of wrap up and generalize for me? And you can speak, in your own experience of who you are as a person, but what would you say that Gen Z really is like? Putting all these stereotypes aside, how do you how do you see your generation coming into the workforce, or just, being the next very large size generation in our population? How would you generalize that?
Oh my. I think we take a lot. I honestly think that we take a lot of action, even if a lot of it is online. I think because we grew up with technology and seeing things from, all over the world, all over the country and everything, I think we're able to make a lot of changes that we want, because it's easy for us to kind of band together, digitally at least. And I think without Gen Z and without the technology, political social movements probably might not have gotten as much traction. And I think that's how people are getting better working conditions and everything like that. So I think it's just a bunch of action takers in the most optimistic view.
Right. And I will say that's what if I were to choose one thing that I admire about your generation the most, it's that I see younger and younger people speaking up and speaking out for what they believe in a good way.
Yeah.
And it's in a way that I wish I could have been brave enough to do. It's in a way that, I wish could have happened sooner.
Yeah.
And I do agree with that. I think that your generation is here to make change in a good way, and you're speaking up and you're speaking out. And you know how to use digital platforms to get the word out. And I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Hopefully it stays good.
Yeah, hopefully. So, we'll wrap up the conversation about Gen Z, your generation, and unless you want to add anything else that I might have missed.
I think that's about it that I have on it.
Yeah, I think it's just an important conversation to have because because of those stereotypes. I think there are a lot of people out there who are putting their nose up to a really great generation, intelligent. Y'all know how to leverage tools in a way that we don't. I am older than Google, so I know how to use these platforms, but I don't know how to leverage them in the way that you do. And so that's all very exciting to me. And I would say to other business owners is give this generation a chance. I know that we've been working together for a while now, and you're blowing my mind. You're picking up things so quickly and getting through things. It's been very enjoyable for me.
Good. It's been enjoyable for me too.
Yes, good. I didn't pay her to say that. So, all right. So somewhere along the way, you're going to school. You've had a couple of jobs along the way. We've been working together for a while now. And by the way, working with me means that you're working on websites, you're working on marketing, social media, you're looking at the data, and you're getting a lot of exposure to those things, which I think is fun that you are along that journey with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but somewhere along the way, you launched your own business.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So I feel like a lot of my answers I feel like are relating back to the pandemic, but that's just the way the world worked. Like I mentioned a little earlier, I was very busy in high school. I don't know a day that I got more than 8 hours of sleep in high school. But March 2020 came around, and that was right after winter break of my senior year, and shut everything down. And that meant my working hours picked up a lot because I was in food service. School kind of just shut down, which was where a majority of my time went. And then I was a competitive dancer, and that dance studios had to shut down because it just, everything did. And dance for me was my creative outlet. I'm a very creative person. I'm very numbers and everything, but I also have this creative side to me. And my best friend at the time, she texted me one day and she's like, do you know those portraits that are going around on TikTok right now? I'm going to go get an iPad and I'm going to learn how to do them. Do you want to come with me? And I said, sure, why not? So we go to Best Buy, we get her an iPad, she starts doing these things. the next day, maybe 2 days later, I text her and I go, I want one too. And so we go back to Best Buy and we learn how to do like these portraits that were going viral on TikTok. And essentially what they are is like you take a picture and you use this digital art app and you basically just trace all the prominent features of it. And then there's like no faces of it on them for most of them. And then it's just like the people in the picture and just their eyebrows. Some people find it weird. Some people love them. And so we started doing that, and it was really a creative escape for me during the pandemic when I couldn't have my normal creative outlets. And I was like, you know what? I bet we could sell these. Like, cause we were just doing it of pictures of ours. So we both, like, we made our Instagram accounts and mine took off. And so that's the start of it. And then I shifted. I was like, well, there was more demand than I could supply, which I think is every business owner's dream, is to be having more customers than they can actually hold on to. And so to find a way to kind of expand, I decided I was going to start making stickers in pop culture references. I started with Disney and TV shows and song lyrics, and now we're here.
Yeah, so you sell custom stickers, and what I know them to be is illustrations, where you're taking like a photo or an image of someone and you're turning it into an illustration.
Yes.
Which is really fun. And you started this, it took off. What made you decide to continue working on it and just thinking, you know what, I think I can make a business out of this?
So I had a business beforehand, and I enjoyed having another form of income, another stream. And it just kind of like when I was starting to get back into going to school, like in person and working, it kind of became a more passive stream of income at that point. Because when that happened, I kind of stopped pushing the portraits and pushed the stickers a little bit more. Because once you design a sticker once, you really don't have to do it again, unless you're designing something new. But the portraits, you have to do a new one every single time, which is still fun. But when it's the stickers, it's very quick for me to kind of leave it on the back burner when I'm in school. And then I called that like my fun money. So I could do whatever I wanted with it.
Yeah. You mentioned multiple streams of income. And I think this is something that's familiar with businesses.
Yeah.
So if you're a business and, generally speaking, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because if something happens to that basket, then you can potentially lose your business. And I'm seeing more and more, both with myself, not just with my business, but with me personally, and then also younger generations, where you're thinking in these terms of multiple streams of income. Like there's really no reason just to have one job anymore. There's so many different ways to go out and make money because we have all these tools and resources available to us.
Absolutely.
And you can work whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have, a flexible schedule.
Yes.
Which is really nice.
And it's so important for me just with school and everything. Like if I were working a normal job right now, I would not be getting enough hours to do what I want to do because of how my classes are set up.
Yeah. And that was the case with me in school. It took me a long time to get through school because I had to work. And there were no other options than going into work.
Yeah.
And so I had to work and then schedule my classes around, my work schedule. And it was tough. And this was back before we could go online and register. We had to call or go down to the registrars. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. But that was just the way it was.
Yeah.
I think we were when I was first going into school, you could do it over on the phone, which was like a big deal. It was so much nicer than going down to the registrar's office. So oh my, how things have changed.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the future of work for you. So you mentioned that you want to work for Disney. So if anybody's listening and they work at Disney, I can certainly vouch for Kendyl. Yeah. What do you see the future for you in work? What does that look like for you?
I think about this all the time. It's, for me, like, the dream would just be to work for Disney, live in California, and like I mentioned, the dream for working for Disney has stayed the same, but like what I want to do specifically has changed, I think 3 or 4 times at this point. I would love to still run my business. I like having control over things, like getting creative control and my time flexibility. And especially when it is something a little bit more passive. Like, because I think all businesses can be as passive as you want them to be. It really depends on how much you're willing and can put into them. There's definitely businesses where you need to be more involved, but mine, I don't necessarily need to all the time. I can schedule my social media for the month, which game changer is scheduling automating as much of your business as you can. Huge game changer for me. I spend, I think, about 1 day a month really like getting myself ready in terms of my business. So that means I send out all my orders with a handwritten thank you card. This is totally sidetracked from what we were talking about, but I handwrite all my thank you cards. I pre-stamp and return address all my envelopes. And then I plan all my social media so that as the orders roll in through the month, I can have a 1 or 2 day turnaround time. I can see myself continuing to do that, even if I have an adult job, as I like to call it.
An adult job, right? Yeah. So basically what you're saying is that you're open to what the future of work might look like for you.
Yes. I try not to let anything be too permanent in my mind.
Yeah.
About like, this needs to happen. Because I feel like if I think that way, I'm never going to be happy.
Do you think about it? Do you worry about it? Or do you just, like, what are your feelings about that type of situation?
I do worry about it. I think it kind of goes back to like, I have this like internal fear of failure in everything I do. And so with this huge goal that I've had since I was a little girl of working for one company, I do worry that one day I have 2 worries, and they're both ridiculous. Either A, I never end up working for them, and I feel like I let little me down. And then 2, I do end up getting a job, and then I end up hating it. And both of those I'm worried about. But the thing is, I can't worry about those things because I don't know what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I try to keep it open as possible and be like, well, maybe that's just not going to be the path that ends up for me. And that's okay. Because there's a lot of things that I thought were the path for me. And that's not where I'm at anymore.
You sound like an adult. You sound very much like an adult right now.
Can you tell my mom does?
What you are.
My mom works in mental health.
Right. Yeah, totally. So we have talked about some of the challenges that you faced along the way. So one of them is a pandemic that nobody had control over.
Right.
Right. Other one was, you were working towards something that was your major, and then you decided, this just isn't for me. When it comes to work and school and your business, what are some other challenges that you face?
I mean, I think my biggest challenge, and again, like a lot of the challenges I face are very much in my own head. But like the biggest one I think I have is like impostor syndrome.
Yeah.
I feel like I carry myself a very, you're like, you seem like an adult. And I feel like I try to carry myself that way, but I'm like, what if people think I'm faking it? And then like, in terms of my business, that also carries because I see like people posting that they're selling out after 5 minutes of releasing something. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. Should I even have a business? Should I even keep going? Like all of this like fear of like not doing well or people thinking I'm a fake or like not feeling like I deserve any of the things I'm getting.
Yeah. And what do you do to overcome that feeling?
I rely very heavily on a support system.
Yeah.
I have a great network of people and that really encourage me, that they're like, no, you're great. You're doing something you really enjoy. You're good at it. People like what you're selling. And I think it even goes into school and everything. And like, humble brag, I'm pretty like smart. I do well in school. And I think I just need like an external reminder of that. But I also am working on like reframing my own thoughts so that I can validate myself, because I don't want to be relying on external validation for the rest of my life. It's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another thing that I appreciate about you. First of all, thank you for sharing that. And also, I think your generation, you're talking about these things.
Yeah.
You're talking about things like imposter syndrome. You're talking about work environments that you don't want to be in, hostile working environments that you don't want to be in. And you're vocal about it. And I just think it's so important. And I think, anybody who is seasoned like myself, don't forget to congratulate people. Let your workers know how much you appreciate them. Let people know when they're doing well. And I don't think that is unique to you. I think that is a human uniqueness that we need to be doing that for each other. Life isn't just about go, go, go all the time. It's also about acknowledging and celebrating. And I think we've kind of gotten good at it.
Yes.
But I see some progress there, and that makes me excited.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. But you're right, Kendyl. I mean, that type of a thing is you certainly should have a support system. It sounds like you do. But, that personal work just might be something that you're constantly working on. And I think we all have that. We all have those things.
It's a constant thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to have that external support system. It's a really good thing.
Yeah.
But you also need to know how to build yourself up.
Right.
Because sometimes you're by yourself.
And so when you're working, so let's say you've designed a new sticker and you put it out there, and then the next morning you wake up and you're just like, oh, what have I done? That was horrible. Or, that imposter syndrome kicks in. What do you do in those moments?
I try, like, when I design a sticker and before I kind of put it out, I kind of sit on it for a day. Because I found that that's a good way for me to limit how much that happens to me. And if I feel like I'm like, oh, nobody's actually going to like this. What I do is, because I make it like a pre-order on my website so that I don't like actually put any like money into something if I'm not 100% sold on what it is. And then I can kind of get that feedback from other people. Like if it starts getting views and likes and even sales. If it gets sales, then I do something about it. But if it's getting like all this attention, or like if I post on social media and people are liking, saving and sharing it, then I'm like, okay, this is your brain tricking you. But then if it kind of like just kind of flatlines, I'm like, okay, maybe this was you knowing trends and actually, doing kind of like my job as the creator, being like, oh, well, maybe this was something that I liked, but it's not appealing enough for the general public, Yeah. It's a very niche group of people who would appreciate this, and I just haven't reached that audience yet.
Right. Or maybe or maybe if it's not selling, it's just not something people want right now. And and it's okay too, right? It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you did something wrong. It just, I think that's a part of business we all face. We have these ideas and we take that risk to put them out there. And there's just always going to be the chance that people are either going to love it or they're not going to like it.
Exactly.
And
you don't know how
you
can do your best to figure it out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I can't read minds.
Definitely. Yes. So Kendyl, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram and Etsy, and it's at Customs by Kendyl. Kendyl is with a Y. And then I also just launched my own website. It's customsbykendyl.com, and it's amazing, and I'm so proud of it.
Yes, you did an awesome job, I have to say.
Thank you.
For your first website build. It's pretty awesome. So go check it out, customsbykendyl.com. I have a feeling people are going to have questions after they listen to this just about how to best work with your generation. So maybe we'll have you back on again in the future if those come in. But Kendyl, thanks so much for being on the show, and everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in. And this month, I normally don't divulge my next guest, but next month I am going to be putting out an episode about how I built Creco Productions and that whole story. So we'll get into that next month. But in the meantime, thanks so much, Kendyl. I appreciate it.
Thank you.